Something just got out, not loudly, not through any dramatic revelation or deliberate confession or moment where someone decided the time had come to stop keeping a secret that had grown too heavy to carry quietly. It got out the way real things always get out, eventually, through the cracks, through the involuntary expression of something too large and too alive to stay perfectly contained, no matter how carefully the person carrying it tried to manage the containment, through a look that lasted slightly too long, through a reaction that was slightly too immediate, through a silence in a conversation that spoke more clearly than anything the words around it were saying. The friends noticed. And once friends notice something like this, once people who know someone well enough to read the space between what they say and what they mean, register what is actually happening underneath the performance of normalcy, the secret is functionally over. It is out. And what is out is this: this person likes you. Not in the measured, manageable, I enjoy their company kind of way that people describe casual positive regard, in the way that has been making their friends exchange glances, in the way that has been producing reactions in them that are inconsistent with the version of the situation they have been presenting, in the way that is, when seen clearly from the outside by people with enough proximity to see clearly, completely, and utterly obvious, except, apparently, to you. Stay with me, because this reading goes somewhere that I think is going to rearrange something in the way you have been seeing this situation. Let me start with the friends, because they are the ones this reading names first, and their role in what is unfolding is more significant than it might initially appear. These are not peripheral people, not casual acquaintances who happen to be in the vicinity. These are the inner circle. The people who have known this person long enough and well enough to have built up a comprehensive picture of who they are in their most unguarded moments, who have seen them move through other situations, other connections, other periods of their life, who have a baseline understanding of what this person looks like when something is casual versus when something is real. And what they are seeing right now does not match the casual baseline, not even close. The stunned quality in their response is important. I want to sit with that word because I chose it with precision. Stunned is not surprised in the mild, oh, interesting kind of way. Stunned is the response to something that genuinely exceeds expectation, that contradicts a prior understanding in a way significant enough to produce a moment of actual recalibration. These friends thought they knew where this person stood. They thought they had a reasonable, accurate read on the situation, on the level of investment, on the depth of feeling, on how much this connection had gotten under their friend's skin and taken up residence in a way that was going to matter. They underestimated it significantly. And the evidence that revealed the underestimation was not a confession. It was not a deliberate disclosure or a vulnerable conversation where the truth was intentionally shared. It was something much more honest than that. It was behavior. Unmanaged, unedited, perfectly honest behavior that told the story their friend was trying not to tell. Let me go into the specific things the friends have witnessed, because the texture of this is important and I want to deliver it in its full detail. The first thing they noticed was the name, your name specifically, the way it gets said, the frequency with which it appears in conversations where it was not necessarily invited, the way it sometimes arrives in the middle of a completely unrelated exchange with the specific non sequitur quality of something that has been living in someone's thoughts and occasionally escapes the boundary between internal and external without the person fully realizing it has escaped. You became a name that appears too often, and the friends clocked it. Not immediately. The first time was probably unremarkable. The second time raised a quiet internal flag. By the time it had happened enough times to establish a pattern, the friends were not just noticing, they were noticing each other noticing, which is its own kind of confirmation. When two people who know someone well independently register the same thing without coordinating, that thing is real. The second thing they witnessed was a change in quality of presence. This person, when you are discussed, or when there is any possibility of you being encountered, or when anything in the environment triggers a thought of you, becomes slightly different, not dramatically, subtly. In the way that people become subtly different when something they care about enters the atmosphere of a moment, a slight heightening, a barely perceptible increase in alertness, an orientation of attention that is almost imperceptible, but that becomes, over time and repeated observation, absolutely unmistakable to the people paying attention. The friends have been paying attention, and what they have assembled from all of these small, individually deniable, collectively undeniable pieces of evidence is a picture that is much clearer than the one their friend has been attempting to present. The third thing, the one that moved the friends from noticing to stunned, they saw how this person responds when you are mentioned in a critical context. When someone said something even mildly negative about you, something casual and perhaps not even genuinely critical, just the kind of offhand comment that gets made in the easy flow of conversation without much weight intended behind it, the response was immediate, instinctive, disproportionate to what the moment called for. A defense, not aggressive, but immediate and specific. The kind of defense that requires knowing someone well enough to counter what was said with actual information rather than general loyalty. The kind that reveals, without any intention of revealing, that this person has been paying enough attention to you to have assembled a genuinely comprehensive picture of who you are. You do not defend someone that quickly and that specifically unless they live somewhere important in you. The friends saw it, and then they looked at each other, and then they knew. Let me pull the cards in now because they have been present since the beginning of this reading, and what they are showing adds something I do not want to leave out. The card I keep returning to for this person is the Knight of Cups, charging forward, leading with feeling. The Knight of Cups is the romantic of the tarot, the one who moves toward what they feel with an openness and a willingness to be moved that is both their greatest beauty and their most exposed vulnerability. The one who cannot easily hide what they feel because feeling for them is not something that lives quietly in the background. It rises, it expresses. It finds its way into the world through the thousand small channels that emotion uses when it cannot find the one large deliberate channel of direct expression. This person is in their Knight of Cups energy with you. Feeling first, management second. And the management as their friends have now clearly witnessed, is considerably less effective than this person believes it to be. The second card that came through is the Two of Cups. And this one I want to speak about carefully because it carries a specific resonance that goes beyond what I have described so far. The Two of Cups is not simply attraction or admiration or even strong feeling. It is the card of genuine recognition between two people of the specific, rare, mutually felt quality of connection that exists when two people encounter each other and something in both of them responds to something in the other in a way that goes beyond the ordinary mechanics of liking someone. The Two of Cups requires two people, and its appearance in this reading is not describing only this person's feeling. It is describing the space between you, which means something is present in that space that belongs to both of you. Does something in you already know this? Not as a hope or a wish or a thing you want to be true, as a sensing, as the specific Virgo quality of perception that has been quietly registering something in this person's energy that did not quite match the surface of what was being presented. Have you caught something in them that they did not intend to show you? A moment where the careful management slipped and something underneath became briefly, unmistakably visible? Have you felt the specific quality of their attention when it lands on you and recognized, even if you immediately talked yourself out of recognizing, that it carries more weight than the situation technically calls for? Let me know in the comments what that moment was. The one where you almost knew, the one you filed under imagination or wishful thinking, or you are reading too much into this, because I think many of you have had that moment and deserve to have it confirmed rather than dismissed. What you sensed was real. The filing was the mistake. I want to speak now to the way more than there letting on piece of this reading, because that phrase is carrying something important that deserves its own full examination. What does it mean to like someone way more than you are letting on? It means there is a gap, a significant, deliberately maintained gap between the internal reality and the external presentation, between what is actually happening in the full, uncensored, unmanaged interior of a person and what they are allowing to be visible in the composed, curated, strategically managed exterior. That gap requires effort to maintain, real effort, the kind that costs something, that produces a low level, persistent, slightly exhausting quality of self monitoring that has to be sustained across every interaction, every conversation, every moment of proximity. The constant awareness of what is showing and what needs to be pulled back. The ongoing management of expression, of tone, of the specific quality of attention, so that what is directed at you does not reveal too clearly how much of their internal resources you are actually occupying. This person has been maintaining that gap around you specifically with a consistency and a deliberateness that speaks to exactly how much there is to manage, because people do not work this hard to contain something small. The scale of the containment effort is always proportional to the scale of what is being contained. And the containment effort here has been significant. Significant enough that the people closest to them, who see them across many contexts and many moods and many situations, where the management is not necessary because you are not present, have been able to register the difference, the observable increase in effort that occurs specifically in any context where you are part of the picture. That difference is what stunned them. Not the feeling itself, but the size of it, the gap between what was being presented and what was actually there is so much larger than they expected that it produced in them the genuine recalibration that stunned implies. Let me speak to something I feel is specifically important for the person receiving this reading today. Something about your own side of this dynamic that deserves to be named with the same care I have given to everything else. You have been doing your own version of the gap, perhaps not identical to theirs, perhaps not driven by the same feelings or the same fears or the same careful calculations about what is safe to show, but a gap nonetheless between what you actually feel or sense or privately acknowledge when you are being fully honest with yourself about this situation and what you allow yourself to claim out loud to others, and perhaps most significantly to yourself. There is something you know, something that your extraordinary perceptive intelligence has assembled from the same kind of small, individually deniable, collectively undeniable evidence that this person's friends have been assembling from their end. You have been collecting data about what is real in this connection and coming to conclusions that you then immediately question or qualify or file under categories that make them feel safer and less exposing than what they actually are. This reading is permission to stop filing, not to act on what you know before you are ready, not to make any decision or take any step or open yourself to anything before your own wisdom tells you the timing is right, but simply to stop arguing with your own perception, to let what you know be known inside yourself at minimum, without the constant audit that immediately identifies all the reasons you might be wrong. You are not wrong. You have been right about this all along. Let me speak to what happens now that the secret is functionally out. The friends know, and friends who know something like this do not simply know it privately and neutrally and without it having any effect on the dynamics around the person it concerns. They carry it into their interactions. They make small adjustments. They become participants, even if gently and without obvious agenda, in the story that is unfolding. Some of them will say something, perhaps to this person directly, in the specific, affectionate, slightly merciless way that close friends address the things their people are pretending not to feel. The gentle confrontation, the knowing look given a voice, the I see what is happening and you are not as subtle as you think you are conversation that close friends are uniquely positioned to have. And that conversation, if it happens or when it happens, is going to move something, is going to take what has been entirely internal in this person and give it the externalization of being named by someone outside themselves, which changes its status, which makes it more real, which nudges it incrementally closer to the direct expression that it has been building toward. Some of them will say something to others. In the way that information moves through networks of people who are connected to each other, the ripple of what they know traveling outward through conversations you are not present for, touching the awareness of people whose position in the broader social landscape means that What they know eventually reaches different ears. The secret being out is not a contained event, it is a beginning. I want to go into something deeper now. Something that I feel is the emotional truth underneath everything this reading has described, and that I have been building towards since the first word. The reason this person has been hiding how much they feel is not indifference to you, not calculation in the cold sense, not a strategy designed to keep you uncertain or maintain some kind of power differential or play a game with careful rules about who shows their hand first. It is something much more human than any of that. It is the specific terror that belongs to feeling something that has grown so large that showing it feels like handing someone the precise instrument they would need to completely undo you. When something matters this much, vulnerability becomes a different kind of exposure. Not just the ordinary risk of rejection that everyone navigates when they allow themselves to be seen in their feeling, something more specific. The risk of being fully seen in the complete, unmanaged, this is the actual size of what I feel reality of something that has exceeded what casual expression can contain. Because this is not casual, and expressing something that is not casual in the casual language of ordinary interaction feels false, and expressing it in the full language it actually deserves feels terrifying. So they have been doing neither, saying nothing, showing less than what is true, maintaining the gap, and watching it become less and less sustainable as what they feel continues to grow and the people around them continue to notice the growth that the containment strategy was supposed to prevent. That strategy is over now. The secret is out. And the question of what happens next is no longer only theirs to answer. Virgo, let me speak to you directly in the way this reading has been building toward. You deserve someone who likes you this much. Not this specifically, not the hiding and the gap and the management of expression, but the underlying reality that the hiding is attempting to contain, the depth of it, the size of it, the specific, involuntary, escaped through the cracks quality of a feeling that cannot be fully managed because it is genuinely too large for management. You deserve to be someone's something that escaped. Their involuntary name mention, their disproportionate defense, their slightly too immediate response, their face when the moment is unguarded, and what they actually feel gets through the barrier of what they are trying to present. You deserve all of that, and it is what you have right now in this person who has been trying so hard to show you less than the truth of what they feel. The question is not whether you deserve it. The question is whether you are going to let yourself receive it when it comes, when the gap finally closes, when what has been too large to contain finds its way into direct expression because the pressure of containment has finally exceeded the fear of exposure. That moment is not far, and when it arrives, I want you to meet it without the deflecting, the minimizing, the immediate search for reasons why it might be less than it appears. It is not less than it appears. It is exactly what it appears. And then some. Let me close with something that has been quietly present in this entire reading and that I want to name before we part. The stunned quality in the friend's response is not only about the size of what they discovered, it is about you, about the specific quality of person that could produce this in someone they know well. Because when people who love someone Watch that person fall, or whatever word we use for what happens when feeling grows beyond management for another person. They look at that other person differently. They try to understand what it is, what the specific combination of qualities could be that reach their person in the way they have been reached. And what they see when they look at you is not a mystery. It is not inexplicable or abstract or difficult to understand. It is actually very simple. You are real, you are specific, you are the particular, irreplaceable, quietly extraordinary combination of things that you are. And that combination reached this person in the exact way that the right combination always reaches the right person. Not despite being complicated, because of it. Not despite the standards and the depth and the specific quality of presence that makes you impossible to categorize and therefore impossible to stop thinking about. Because of all of it, the friends are stunned because they recognize something valuable when it reveals itself through the effect it has on someone they love. They see it, and now, finally, after this reading, so do you. Tell me in the comments what this opened in you today. Tell me the moment in this reading where something shifted. Tell me about the gap you have been maintaining in your own understanding of this situation and what it feels like to start closing it. Because your words here become part of something real, and someone reading them tomorrow might need exactly what you have to say. Until next time, the secret is out, and what was in it was always quietly about you.